When did you have an experience there that sort of changed your direction and changed the way you thought about what you're doing?
Yes, well, much in a classroom like this. I know, sorry. Much in a classroom like this. I stayed after work one day, and I was in this amazing institution, and there are all these really great speakers, so I loved hearing speakers. So I stayed after work one day and heard this guy, Dr. Yunis, speak, and I hadn't heard of him before. I hadn't heard of microfinance, but he was really awesome. He talked about his story founding the Grameen Bank. This was in the fall of 2003, 3 years before he would win the Nobel Peace Prize for his work pioneering modern microfinance. And I was struck by microfinance. Sounded pretty amazing, and like it worked, and it didn't seem intimidating and overwhelming to me. This person who had zero business knowledge, like didn't know the difference between profit and revenue, but talked about like there's a goat herder who has 10 goats. The goat herder gets $100. This is what he can do or she can do, more likely. It was very easy for me to understand. So it was the first time I cared at all about anything related to business. So that was cool. But also his story was very compelling because he spoke in this very accessible way. And he also talked about these people that I realized at the end of the lecture were poor people, but I didn't have those same pangs of emotion, that same like sadness and guilt and shame and everything. They sounded like awesome individuals that were entrepreneurs. And in Silicon Valley, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, I was like, an entrepreneur sounds like a really amazing thing to be. And it was the strangest contrast to see the poor as entrepreneurs. And so that was the first time that I did. And I was so compelled, again, not recommending this, but if you do this, let me know how it works out because I'd like to hear that story. I quit my job, and a few weeks later had moved to East Africa to learn. I wanted to talk to people who had received these small loans. And so I begged my way into a job that covered my basic expenses, and I did a survey for a nonprofit called Village Enterprise Fund, and I walked around and was on a bike and taxis and whatever, but I traveled throughout Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. I was in a new village like every other day surveying people who had received $100, in fact, to start or grow their businesses.